we will be able to give a fair story that interprets what is happening in our economy. We believe our project is to look at the emerging markets. What is the business news? Business intelligence, commodities, the markets, stocks, expert analysis, so that our people have an understanding of what is going on. Right now, people talk of different numbers in terms of our economy, our GDP. But we believe there's an economy that is not measured because there's no data.
And yet, probably bulk of that business is going on our streets. How do we interpret that in today's news media? So we assembled a team that we are confident that it will be able to do this work, be able to give analysis, be able to give direction in terms of what needs to be said, what sort of conversation we need to be having. And we appointed that team, we appointed Happiness Zengeni, who is with us tonight, to lead that team. Happiness brings to this role over 10 years of experience, having led the Business Herald for 10 years, and she will be the first woman to edit a national newspaper. So what capacity do we have as a media organization? What is our reach so that we are able to and nationwide reporter bureaus that we have in Bulawayo? We are represented in every corner of this country. We believe we are able to collect the news that matter to our people and package it in a manner that will make sense to all those who are interested in doing business. So our objective really is to expand our presence across a range of media platforms, evolve our media business, develop newer media businesses, and leverage synergies for overall growth. And this is how we believe we need to do it. Because today, media is not just about print. It is about a lot of things. A lot of us consume our content on different gadgets, on our iPads, on our computers, on television screens. So we believe we need to do a new thing in terms of telling the new economic story. And this is a snapshot. Before we go to the snapshot, this just illustrates how far we are represented as Zim papers. We are in newspapers, we are in magazines, we are on the internet, we are on mobile, we are in the SADC region with Southern Times, we are on radio, we are also into commercial printing. So we believe we are well placed to be able to launch this new product and talk to Zimbabweans.
Welcome to Business Weekly. On our top story today, we unravel Zimbabwe's cash crisis. We also explore global business news. More on these after the Business Breakfast highlights on Startup Capital.
Could it be that Mikos had made this announcement in a way at least to try and drive their share prices up? Could that be a factor?
I don't think they will be that cunning, but remember when I attended the AGM and we talked about it here, that Mikos, the chairman, executive chairman, Mr. John Moxon, was actually very emotional about it, saying that he has been persecuted, the newspapers are on his case, and he's going to be delisted and maybe sell the company altogether.
Thank you for staying with us. Now to our top story. The RBZ has announced more bond notes injection into the current float to address the increased demand on available cash in the market. Is this really a long-term solution? What is the real challenge? What is causing this cash crisis? We took a deeper look into these issues. And now to international business news. The gold price shoots up as tensions rise within the Korean bloc with its increased nuclear developments. And in other news, the US dollar has slipped against the yen, but the Canadian dollar continues to hold firm after Canada's central bank chief backed an interest rate increase. After the break, join us in the lounge.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, we need to talk about this issue of 99-year leases.
That's all from Business Weekly today. Join us again tomorrow for more trending business news. I'm Napoleon Nyani.
Business Weekly is also available on these other platforms: the website ebusinessweekly.co.zw, the Business Weekly app, and Zimpaper's News Hub.
Thank you. Honorable Vice President, we believe our country is pregnant with opportunities. We don't have television licenses yet. I was talking to Minister Mshowe earlier on, but we believe in the ability of our people, that we can do things that have not yet been done before, and there's nothing that stops us. This is why we're saying we can even launch a business television channel on online platforms. We're also waiting for a license, but there is nothing that absolutely stops us from doing greater things for our country. If we all put our heads together, and we believe with Business Weekly, we can be on the road to start telling a new story about our economy. I thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, everything has a journey, and I will tell you of one journey that I took. So I was driving down 2nd Street Extension, and I got to the traffic lights, and as usual, I was blasting my music, having a good time. And then this gentleman pulls up in a beautiful Mercedes-Benz, rolls down his window, asks me to do the same, roll down my window. And he says, "Hey, you're beautiful." You know, like, I didn't doubt it. I mean, look at me though. But there was something suspicious about his compliment, so I looked at him again with that corner of the eye that I gave the CEO. And he says, "But you need to lose weight." Okay, in my head, I was like, I'm on a journey, Sha, I'm on a journey. But you can't explain that to everybody. Now, those that know me know that I am a very feisty woman. So I looked at him, and I thought I should punish him for the rest of his life. Then I said to him, "At least I can lose weight, but you do nothing about that nose." And then I drove off. Mind you, there was nothing wrong with his nose. But every morning he looks in the mirror and says, "But that fat girl also." But so does this paper. They say, do not judge a book by its cover. Do not judge this print by its cover. But we want to show you the journey that it walked through for it to have this cover. So if you could watch the screens.
Wish you every success with your plan to start a purely business paper. You may well have to get into debates with government about how they could make it easier for business to get on with the job.
We really wanted for it to be a standalone because we felt it had the muscle and even the readership, locally and internationally, to be a standalone newspaper. Not that we were divorcing from Zimpapers, but within the Zimpapers group, but as a standalone outside the Herald.
Most of them say, we were not aware that you are doing these things. Everybody. We didn't know you are that advanced. That is the message that comes out. And of course, our response is, we can't report ourselves. Let's have somewhere where we can say, yes, history is history. We learn from history. But let's not be prisoners of the past. In the circumstances of the case, we must find a way ahead, a way to the future. And that, I think, is the message that I would want in the Business Weekly to focus on.
But as a Business Weekly, it means you have to build it up with the non-journalists, you know, who also have the patience, not to say, I phoned, give me the the story now. This will be slightly different because sometimes in your business weekly you want it properly researched with the data, with the facts. Sometimes the data, mainly the data, not the facts, but the data. That's what I would be concerned about if we are talking of agriculture, because it is that direct impact. If we are talking of production, business is driven by wanting to know what is the volume of this and that and the trends. We would not want articles where you know very clearly that the government policy says this, but technically somebody is pushing a certain agenda.
But I think there could be a bit of an improvement on the competitor analysis and the trends. I think that would help a lot. Because remember, you have all these newspapers on your desk and what have you, and I think it's the paper which gives you that in the shortest possible time, so that I can also keep a trend and whatever, see what competition is doing.
Give us issues that are not already in the public domain would help, rather than something that has already made the news.
As long as it's meaningful information and that people want, I'm convinced that you can actually get a subscription base to it.
One of the things that people cherish or people want to do when you've got something as nice as that is to be seen to be holding it. I see it when I go to the airport and I'm holding a copy of The Economist. It's a different perception altogether. I'm viewed as sophisticated, understand. So when you've got something like that, people will want to be seen with it.
An investor needs a paper that speaks to them, that tells them what Zimbabwe has to offer, that gives the trends. So I feel this Business Weekly will do exactly that, and that it will succeed in the market, because the economy is at a certain trajectory. It requires that people be informed, be they ordinary readers, ordinary men on the street selling airtime, wants to know what their tomorrow is like. An investor wants to come to Zimbabwe, they need to know what opportunities are there. Am I assured of a return on investment? So once the Business Weekly gives that in-depth analysis, say be it about mining, be it about agriculture, we've command agriculture and other aspects of agriculture, the manpower is there, the resources are there, and that the people who are on the desk headed by Happiness will be able to do it.
As you can see, Business Weekly apinda pamamonya ipapo Zim papers. Mwana wa PD, they said. Before we go any further, there's some people who are going to be coming around for you to drop your business cards in. So please make sure that you do drop your business cards in, and there shall be something for you at the end of the evening. And please do remember, those of you taking pictures, that we are on Twitter, we are on social media, on Instagram. The hashtag is BusinessWeeklyZW, and the Twitter handle is @ZimPapers. As you saw, oh yes, and there's open Wi-Fi. Zoll has provided us with Wi-Fi. Thank you to the people at Zoll. So please connect to the Wi-Fi, go on social media, and share what is happening here, where we are setting the Zimbabwe business agenda. You saw that we had wide consultations, and one of them that I happened to sit in, unfortunately, like I said, I don't have the face for TV, so they didn't put me up on the screen. But one of them was with the Minister of Finance and the Reserve Bank Governor, Dr. Mangujka, who's not here. And when they were there, they bemoaned the fact that business journalists in Zimbabwe get such technical things wrong. Instead of fiscal policy, they say physical policy, which I'm still trying to figure out what it is. Maybe it's what Sokostina was referring to, you know, about losing weight. And you know, there were all these other terms, and they gave us quite a lengthy lecture on these terms, basically an economics 101. And I have the honor now to call upon the Minister of Finance to give us his remarks. I hope they are not as long as that lecture that they gave us in the boardroom, but we are pleased to have you, sir.
Let me start by acknowledging the presence of the directors of ceremony. You are most appreciated. Thank you. I also acknowledge our Honorable Vice President, Comrade D.D. Mnangagwa, my colleague, Minister of Media Information and Publicity, Dr. Mushowe. I acknowledge the Chairman of the Board of Directors of Zim Papers, Mr. Lupepe, and the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Deketek. I also acknowledge my colleague, the Minister, Resident Minister, Madam Chikukwa, who is here with us. God answers prayers in His own time. Since I came to the Treasury, I've been bemoaning the fact that politics dominates everything. And there is no space given to reporting the true story unfolding before us, the economic story unfolding before us of Zimbabwe. So each time I met the Zim Papers people, the Chief Executive Officer, I met Happiness, I met all the editors, I was always complaining. Why is that the story, true economic story unfolding is not being reported? Newspapers across the board, including those which say they are business, they are financial, the dominant themes are politics, succession politics, and it drowns the message and the hard work our people are putting into to make this economy tick. In my first budget, I said something like, and I think I was responding to what Mr. Beatty had said, shouting at me in Parliament. I said, the old economy is dying and the new economy is emerging. The story that I want Business Weekly to tell is the story of the emerging new economy. And I think we had quite some snippets of that new economy. It looks chaotic, but all creation comes from chaos. All creation. The earth was created, the world was created out of chaos. So is the case with the new emerging economy. So, Honorable Vice President, I am truly honored that I'm here today to witness the launch of the Business Weekly, a standalone Business Weekly which will give focus to the economy, to the story of the economy. I look forward, and when I give out these figures, what does the new economy entail? It says, before we had 2,000 tobacco farmers producing tobacco worth about 200 million kilograms. In the new economy, the new farmers are 105,000. Before, in the gold sector, we had a few primary producers producing, at the most, they produce maybe 27 or so metric tons. But right now, we have 350,000 artisanal miners now contributing 47% of gold product analysis of Zimbabwe's business, economic, financial news. When information or critique is fair, accurate, we listen. But when you start with insults, we shut our ears. We truly do. There are many positive developments in Zimbabwe that are not fully covered in the media because of reasons that are best known by our media players. My appeal is that journalists should remain impartial whenever they are reporting on national issues. Misrepresentations, and we've seen lots of misrepresentations, misinformations are not good for the development of our country. You need to remain guided by your industry's ethical standards. As professionals, never engage in any activities that are in conflict with your values and ethical standards. We need responsible journalism. Government has been implementing measures to revive the economy. But what do you hear, see or read in our press? Mostly negative news that dampen people's spirits. Like I said, and I think it was repeated here, the good ambassadors for Zimbabwe from outside are those who visit us. When they visit us, they don't believe what they see. And that is a true story which I encounter every day when I meet foreign visitors. They are surprised that we are standing, we are resilient, they recognize our challenges, but they also recognize that we are moving in the right direction. There are a lot of positive developments in our country that we need to spend time covering in our media. I would therefore expect the Business Weekly to focus on such developments instead of negative news. I've always been on record that as a democratic modern economy, Zimbabwe respects diverse views on any matters of interest to us as Zimbabweans. We need, however, to always remember that we are Zimbabweans first and foremost. Zimbabwe remains our home. Our international visitors, as I've pointed out, are surprised when they come to Zimbabwe. Their views about Zimbabwe, while out there, are totally different from their views after visiting the country. What is really responsible for this? It is, in most cases, media that has become notorious for distorting to our ongoing efforts to revive the economy. And the media has an important role to play in that regard. I wanted to say that the media can actually influence government policy. I'm aware that the Honorable Vice President is very accessible. We also try to be very accessible. Please influence us. We are the leaders of today who formulate government policy, and we are waiting to be influenced in the correct direction, but also always based on facts and figures. And we are there to listen to you. I would like the media to play its informative role and strive to foster greater understanding of business, economic, and financial issues. There are a lot of issues that our media tend to ignore, but are very useful to our people. Some issues that come to my mind are basically that we need to enhance financial literacy among our people. That is very missing. We need to enhance that financial literacy. Not just with the peasants in the rural areas, but people out here in this room. We need to enhance our financial literacy. We also need to talk about financing of entrepreneurial projects. We need to talk about market development strategies. We need simple analysis of our policies and programs. We also need investments for the benefit of youths and women, among others. These issues should be based on research instead of just uprooting articles from the internet. You need to move away from tired journalist practices. You need to understand the Zimbabwean context so that your stories remain relevant to the Zimbabweans as well as other regional and international stakeholders. In conclusion, let me say that I'm very proud that when I heard of the news, the idea that Zim Papers wanted to do a standalone business weekly, I latched on to the idea. And my contribution has been just from the sidelines, from the terraces, to encourage them along that path. And today we are gathered to see the launch of that good idea. And please, may it prosper. May we take time away from politics. We don't eat politics. We eat what we produce. In the fields, in industry, in the factories, in tourism, that's what we eat. Not this obsession about politics. It won't do our country any good. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for those words. He said that we should be influencing the politics, and this is what Business Weekly sets to do. It is setting the Zimbabwe business agenda, and because we are setting the business agenda, there are people who are going to have to carry out that business agenda. I'd like to call upon Mr. Tafadzwa Chinamo to give us from the Securities Commission, to give us his remarks and tell us how Business Weekly is going to aid those in business in setting the agenda.
Thank you, Masters of Ceremony, the Honorable Vice President and the Honorable Ministers here present, the Board of the Zim Papers, the Managing Director, the Captains of the Industry, ladies and gentlemen. When I first learned about this publication, that's a few months ago, my reaction to Happiness and her team was not very enthusiastic, because I said to her, quite frankly, we are tired of publications that purport to be business papers, but they end up, being like everything else. So, I was quite frank with them at that point in time. So I was quite honored to be part of the team that you saw, although they didn't show my clip there, when they got us to the nation. If any business reporter is going to write anything about anything, a listed company gives you the best platform. If you want to feel the pulse of an economy, because in these companies, the journalist actually goes deeper than he would in a non-listed company. And so to understand, why my thoughts were of that way is you first have to understand what the capital markets are about. And in its simplest form, the capital markets exists to bring two parties together. On the one hand, you've got the investor with money in his pocket to invest, and on the other end, you've got a cost of bringing these two people together. But we justify it because if you really look at it, it's going to be very difficult for strangers to exchange money, and the bonds. How is the environment, be it social, political, or economic, impacting on the company's ability to make those profits? And how is the company faring against competition? We heard right now the transforming economy. How is this company doing in that environment? Is the company's overall strategy sound? And how is it handling environmental issues? And is it treating its shareholders